Fatima is a modern phase of salvation history, or shall we say a recent phase of salvation history. Where does Fatima come into this? It's one of those moments of a divine intervention in urgent times, serious times.
I'm delighted to share with you the greatest event that has happened to humanity 100 years ago. It is the story of Fatima, a message from heaven that is for every living person on the planet. It is a message of peace and a call to live holy lives. So what makes the events at Fatima different to any other supernatural occurrence is that over the past 100 years, no one can fault it. Let me show you exactly what happened at Fatima 100 years ago. As you may already know, the mother of Jesus appeared to 3 children at Fatima, Portugal, during the summer of 1917. The children were aged 7, 9 and 10.
As a historian, and I'm a trained historian, I find the events of Fatima totally credible. I've read through them carefully. I've even read some of the source documents that were published some years ago. And they're completely credible because there's fine detail, corroborative witnesses. The children never waver, even when they were threatened with death, to bluff them. Remember that time when they were locked up by the anti-clerical Masonic people, locked them up. They were ready to die for what they'd experienced. That's exactly the logic of the resurrection. The apostles, the disciples of Jesus, the men and women who followed him, were ready to give their lives rather than deny that he rose from the dead in his own body, the event that changed the history of the whole world and unleashed the full revelation of God in Christianity. So the Fatima children are like the apostles in that sense. They're steadfast. They're willing to be martyred rather than deny what they saw.
The things that the children did, it goes beyond what a normal child would do or be capable of. The things that stand out for me are they were threatened with torture and death, told, confess that you made these things up. But they said, no, this is what happened. We saw this lady. This is what she said. And children don't do that. So to see the conviction in these children and also the way they changed through this experience of the apparitions. They became very serious, very mature, and really they were concerned about not about the everyday things that, like children are worried about having a good time, playing and things like that. They were concerned about the eternal destiny that we are called to.
The mother of Jesus appeared to the children on the 13th of each month for 6 months. It was on the 3rd meeting that a great miracle was promised for the final visit, so that everyone might believe. It was to be on the 13th of October 1917. On that day, the 13th of October 1917, about 70,000 people gathered at Fatima to witness the miracle. Many didn't believe and made fun of those gathered. Even the media, the reporters that were present for the miracle, were there to prove it was all just a hoax. But the miracle happened. As the 70,000 people gathered in the rain, the children were together in prayer, kneeling in the mud. The eldest of the children pointed to the sky and shouted, "The sun! Look at the sun!" At that moment the clouds parted and the sun could be seen. It wasn't harmful to look at. People were looking directly at it. Then the sun started moving all around the sky until it seemed to fall towards the people, getting bigger and bigger. Many ran, screaming, shouting, "God, have mercy." At that point, the sun stopped and drew back to its normal position. It was then the people noticed that the ground was dry and their clothes that had been drenched in water were dry. Everyone shouted miracle. Newspaper reporters who witnessed the event acknowledged it as a miracle in the Portuguese press. Everyone present concurred the miracle.
The crowning glory, as it were, for a historian is the miracle of the sun on the 13th of October 1917. I've read about that very carefully, and the thing that shakes me is the way it changed the lives of the sceptical, atheistical journalists who came up from Lisbon in their big cars to make fun of the poor peasants praying on the mountainside. And then the rain came down and the phenomena happened. People's clothes were dried. We know the details. I mean, a lot of the details, even photographs of the crowds. And they scuttled back to Lisbon looking for priests to go to confession. They were really shaken by that. They had a resurrection experience, like the apostles had, like St. Thomas had. And they went back and they shed their skepticism. And that's historically on record. Now, people who mock Fatima, make fun of it, will not look at the miracle of the sun. It's too disturbing, because here we face ordinary people, well-recorded events that happened. And the effect of the miracle of the sun is that ricochets through all the years afterwards, that we're looking at something where God stepped into history through Mary at a special moment in this critical time in the history of the human race. And it is a critical time, and it is just as critical in the 21st century as it was at the beginning of the 20th century. Indeed, some would argue more so.
Here's what people are saying about Fatima. St. John Paul II. Motherhood means concern for the life of the child. Now, if Mary is the mother of all mankind, then her concern for the life of man has universal extension. Mary's maternity has its beginning in her maternal care for Christ. Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. We would be mistaken to think that Fatima's prophetic mission is complete. Here there takes new life the plan of God, which asks humanity from the beginning, "Where is your brother Abel? Your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground." Mankind has succeeded in unleashing a cycle of death and terror, but failed in bringing it to an end. In sacred scripture, we often find that God seeks righteous men and women in order to save the city of man, and he does the same here, in Fatima. When Our Lady asks, "Do you want to offer yourselves to God, to endure all the sufferings which he will send you, in an act of reparation for the sins by which he is offended, of supplication for the conversion of sinners?" Cardinal Jose Policarpo of Portugal. Pope Francis asked me twice to consecrate his new ministry to Our Lady of Fatima, the Cardinal said. In this apparition, Fatima, Pope Francis said, Mary invites us once again to prayer, penance and conversion. She asks us to not offend God anymore. She warns all mankind of the need to surrender to God, the source of love and mercy. Follow the example of St. John Paul II, great devotee of Our Lady of Fatima. Let us listen attentively to the Mother of God and seek peace for the world. Praise be Jesus Christ, Francis said. The importance of Fatima is undeniable, both for believers and for non-believers, defends the President of the Republic, Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, in an interview published in the newspaper Region of Liera on October 13, 2016.
So it was a critical moment in time that the Blessed Mother came to the three children at Fatima. But it's telling us something about time. Fatima says all time is in God's hands, in God's providence. That's why the messages of Fatima from Our Lady are warnings, alerts, calls for prayer and penance, but also a message of hope, hope in the risen Christ and his control and lordship over time.
I think the purpose of Fatima becomes increasingly clear as we go into the 21st century. The sad reality is that we're seeing an enormous attack on marriage. Fatima was the first apparition ever where Jesus, Mary and Joseph appeared at the same time in the same apparition. Hasn't happened before, don't know about the future. So I think the purpose of Fatima was really to help people in the 20th century, but most especially now. So I see your particular video as most timely. And of course the pilgrim statues of Our Lady of Fatima that are travelling around all over the world at the moment are reinforcing the message. I mean, this is not over. Pope Benedict XVI Emeritus said, the message of Fatima is not over yet. And so that's the relevance, that's the importance of it. We've got to know the message and, more importantly, put it into practice.
So for many Christians, it's a call to get your act together and prove, as it were, to all of us. To people without faith, it's a call to come to God. To people who are wobbling in the middle, make the choice for Christ. There's many levels of reaching people through Fatima, but the story has to be told, the story of Fatima. And I think that is one of the beautiful apostolates that the centenary year has unleashed in the world in a wider sense through the new media at our disposal.
So if you're looking for peace of mind for your home and family in eternity, you've wasted enough of your time, energy and sanity on trying to meet your needs for security and comfort and status. How about working for the status of holiness? Picture right now the moment you achieve your most important life goal. You're looking happy, holy, and you're surrounded by the love of God and your friends and family. You truly can break free from sin and rediscover your spirit once again.